When we enter into a relationship with someone, we begin to understand what that person is like, and conversely, they begin to understand what we are like. This is true for all personal relationships we enter into to one degree or another. Take that of a father and child. From the moment the son takes his first steps, the father watches and begins to see what the temperament of the son is like. Some children are naturally more cautious, while others are fearless and wander off with a cavalier attitude. The father will naturally treat them differently and will know what to expect. He will not ask anything of them that he doesn't know they can achieve. He will naturally test them and encourage them to do things that are new and different. But he is always aware of their limitations and will deal with them appropriately. His love will constrain their actions until they are able to perform tasks safely on their own. There is an investment of time and effort from the father to his children that will one day pay off in their very lives. Likewise, the children begin to know what their father is like. They know how far they can push him before he sternly says enough. They know that ultimately he is in charge. They know from their experience of life with him that he is always seeking to train them, to push them on to further their education in all aspects of their life. They know most of all that he cares for them, and whilst he may not be perfect, he desires the best for them. When we read the parable of the talents, we can get a glimpse of the importance of what living in relationship means. For the kingdom of heaven, Jesus says, is like a man travelling to a far country. He called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, and to each according to his own ability. And immediately he went on a journey. Then he who had received the 5 talents went and traded them and made another 5 talents. And likewise he who had received 2 gained 2 more also. But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money. After a long time the lords of the servants came and settled accounts with them. So he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you delivered to me 5 talents. Look, I have gained 5 more talents beside them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. He also who had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, you delivered to me 2 talents. Look, I have gained 2 more talents besides them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. And I was afraid. And I went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours. But his Lord answered and said to him, you wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. Therefore take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. That's Matthew 25, 14 to 29. Each man has been given a set amount according to his ability. Now the Lord is familiar with each one and knows what they are capable of. His own investment of time spent teaching them the ways of life, training and watching them, have given him insight into their capabilities. He's not asking too much of any of them. But the focal point here is that they are being entrusted with something that is of a supremely higher value than the money they are being given. They are being invited to trust in the master's belief in them. The master is effectively asking them, do you believe that when I make a decision about your life and what you should do, that I am right? That my knowledge of you is such that I know what you are capable of doing? Do you trust me when I say you can do this thing? It is an invitation to be part of a bigger picture. More than a slave, a partaker in the family business, to enter into the joy of the Lord. The words good and faithful servant reveal that this is about relationship. Their faith is in their master. They believe in him and trust in him and the decisions that he makes. Now the Lord is happy with the first 2 servants because they managed his money well. Not because they managed his money well and made profit for him, but because they acted according to his knowledge of what they were capable of. It was a test of faith, of trust. In James 1:12 it says, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. There's that word love again. You can't mention it without talking about relationship. There is a blessing that comes when the tests and trials of life come our way. God has given us the gift of his life, to each one a measure of faith, a measure of relationship relative to each individual, talents if you will. I believe our calling is to act in faith, to use our faith as an investment in the harvest of life, to present the increase of faith that will not fail to yield a harvest when invested on command to the Master's voice. We do not need to worry that there will be a harvest, as that is not in our power to do anyway, only to invest. Mark 4:28 tells us that all by itself the soil produces grain, and in verse 29 the harvest then comes. Our faith works by love, Galatians 5:6 tells us. It is because of this faith that our Father will allow trials to come so that we may know the genuineness of it, that we may truly realise that it is indeed of greater worth than gold, 1 Peter 1:7. When the first two servants met up with their Lord, they were changed. The confidence they had in their relationship with their Master had been proved. Like gold tried in the fire and proved to be the real thing. They could truly be joyful with the same joy that their Father shared over their faith in him. Of course, this story ends with a word of warning. The final servant had shared the same lives, lived under the same roof, eaten the same food, heard the same words, and yet fundamentally never believed in his Lord. In burying the coin, he also buried his head in the sand and ignored the reality of the call of faith, the call to prove one's loyalty and trust. The fire of the trial proved his unbelief, his lack of trust in his Lord, his lack of faith. This servant echoes the words of Adam when God comes to him in the garden. I was afraid, he said, revealing his lack of trust and relationship. Our relationship with our Father is based on love, his love for us. Perfect love casts out fear, and we are not to be afraid, but to live by faith in the one who loves us. We are to boldly state, along with the writer of Hebrews 10:39, but we do not belong to those who shrink back and are destroyed, but to those who have faith and are saved. Bless you, and thanks for listening.